These handouts go along with your 1.2 handouts, lab safety in the classroom. So make sure you review your notes before you come into the lab. This is a copy of the lab handout that you have. If you do not have a copy, pull it off of Canvas. There is a link to this page. So make sure that you get your notes and put them in your binder. This is all the equipment that is in the lab. Some of it we will use, some of it we won't have to, but you still need to know all the equipment that you need in the lab. All right, so safety. Again, this class is designed for you to go into the lab. You won't be able to go into the lab if you do not know the safety rules. If you are not safe in the lab, you will not be able to complete labs, and that is a big part of your grade. It is a priority, the first priority. So we have rules that we must follow, and you have to follow them at all times. If you have not signed the lab safety contract, you and your parent, you need to get it signed before you can participate in the labs. Now, if you do not have a copy of it, you can pull it again off of Canvas. So in general, you have got to be mature and responsible in the lab all the time. There is no time to be playing around, no jokes, no pranks. It's very dangerous. You must follow all instructions, written or verbal, carefully. There is no option. You do not play with any equipment. This lab is not a toy shop. We can't play with the equipment. We use it for a particular use, and that's it. Again, food, drink, and gum are not allowed in the science classroom, the lab, or the classroom. For one thing, we don't know who's been working in the lab before us, and if we're putting things in our mouths, it is very, very possible that you can get sick or worse. So remember, lab safety is everybody's responsibility, so make sure that you are following all rules for the lab at all times. Also very important, keep the lab and the room clean and organized. If it's not clean and organized, accidents can happen. If an accident does happen, you must notify me immediately. Don't try to hide it. Don't be embarrassed. Accidents happen. And maybe that means we need to review some of the procedures. So make sure that you are always aware of what's going on in the lab, and always let me know if something is not okay, if there's an accident or if something don't look right. And again, wash your hands with soap and water after experiments. There will be time for you to do it. I will send you to the bathroom to wash your hands. Make sure you wash it with soap and water, especially if we're working with chemicals. Okay, some of the safety symbols. This is also on your handout, so make sure you go over them. Of course, eye protection. We will need to use goggles when we work with chemicals, flames, or heating devices. If, for any reason, we weren't wearing our goggles, they were on top of our heads, and chemical gets in your eyes, you need to go to the eye wash station and flush your eyes with the water for about 15 minutes and have somebody let me know. All right, sharp objects. If we ever get to the point where we are allowed to dissect, we will be using very, very sharp scalpels. So make sure that you are not waving it around or pointing it at people. It's not funny, it's dangerous, and you will get put out of my lab. All right. Make sure if you're using, first off, the only things that go into the plugs into the lab benches are things like equipment. So don't put your phone charger in any part of my wall. If I see it in there, I'm taking it, and you're not getting that back. But also, of course, we're taking care of animals in my class. So if you have passed the animal quiz, once we get them in there, you will know exactly what you need to do to take care of the animals. But also, again, wash your hands. Whenever you come in the lab, make sure your hair is tied back and you don't have on too loose clothing. is especially if you're working with Bunsen burners. You don't want to like burn all your hair off. So before you do anything, read. Every time you do anything, never touch anything without reading it first. Do not grab anything without reading the procedure. So make sure you read everything so that we are getting exactly what we need and that we're not making any unnecessary accidents happen. Now, if you spill something on your skin, let me know and rinse your skin off with water. And also with the glassware, this isn't like cups at our house. We cannot put 3 and 4 beakers in our hands. That's dangerous. So carry it 1 beaker in a hand at a time. Like, do not try to overload. You'll break the beakers. And plants. If we're ever working with plants, do not put plants in your mouth. Do not put the green beans in your mouth. Like, don't eat anything in the lab. And this is a copy of the symbols that you have. So make sure you go over them so that if you see the safety symbol, you know exactly what it means. There will be a quiz. And safety equipment. Now there are fire extinguishers. So, but remember, always let me know what's going on. Do not just go running and get the fire extinguisher, start spraying it everywhere. That's not a good idea. If you do happen to catch on fire, stop, drop, or roll, or run under the emergency shower. But I don't anticipate this happening. But just in case, now we know. Go over the safety rules. You have these in your handout. So make sure you know all these safety rules. Okay, on a sheet of paper to turn in, make sure you have the correct heading on it. This will be a grade for you completing this exercise, watching the slide. But what is wrong with this picture? I want you to write down everything you notice that is wrong with this scene in the laboratory. Okay, now, so let's talk about a couple of these things. So first off, his eyes are not protected. These goggles are on the counter. That does nothing for him. If anything gets splashed up in his face, that's going to be a problem. If you look over here, they're using the eye wash as a coat rack. So if he gets those chemicals in his eyes because he's not wearing his goggles, he won't be able to get the water in his eyes like he needs to. Now here we have, and he's plugging in a cord, but his hands are wet. Now that's a problem. He left this chemical open, and it's at the edge of the table. If he moves his arm, he's about to get shocked because he is plugging in this cord with his hands wet. He's going to jump around and knock that down. And it's a glass jar. Chemicals going to be everywhere. And then we have this knife hanging off the side of the counter. And then this jar right here has a big old crack in it, which is very, very dangerous. Lots of problems here. Okay, again, what's wrong with this picture? Okay, so they are not paying, she really is not paying attention. And then he's heating up a test tube, but it's pointed at the little girl, which is a problem. Her hair is not tied up, so if she gets anywhere near this Bunsen burner, she'll burn all her hair off. And there's junk all over the counter. She's not paying attention. She's about to knock over that glassware. Just problems. But we're not going to do that in the lab. So we know better. Okay, what's wrong with this picture? All right, let's talk about it. Okay, so he yanked the cord out the wall. We don't need to do that. Oh, that's a soda can. You know, they have stuff all over the table, and they're drinking soda in the lab. Not good. What else is wrong with them? Look at that right there. He's, instead of wafting, which means you're moving the air and molecules towards your nose so you could smell the chemical, he's got the chemical right up to his nose. Now, if it's something potent, you could pass out, and that is not good. So what's wrong with these statements? Hal says that his teacher is solely responsible for preventing laboratory accidents. Keisha started the lab activity before reading it through completely. What's the problem there? Ricardo decided to do a lab activity that he read about in a library book before the teacher came into the classroom. Stephanie says that the safety goggles mess up her hair and give her raccoon eyes. She refuses to wear them. Barbie and Ken accidentally break a beaker full of some chemical. Instead of risking getting into trouble, they quickly clean up the mess with paper towels and throw it in the garbage. It sounds like none of these people are going to be able to come into my lab. Don't let it be you. All right, if you have any questions, make sure that you write them down and bring them to me tomorrow or the next time you come to me. So make sure you read through the entire safety contract. Well, most of you have signed it, but if you have not, make sure you read it, make sure your parents read it, sign it, and bring it back to me. If you do not have it signed, you cannot complete the lab. We are already missing lab days.